So today's vid is to get this interior sorted so it's complete and ready to sit in. So we're going to get this wiring sorted out, going to get the seat rails welded in. All these mounting points are going to be sanded down, they're going to be painted properly with some protection because as soon as you get damp on mild steel it starts to rust. So let's get on with it. So just give these a quick zinc primer just to protect them from some corrosion. Then I'm going to put some diamond white paint over it, strip this loom down. Got all this nasty tape off it because it had overspray from the previous owner on it, so we're going to loom tape that. We're going to black tape it up first for some protection and just loom tape over the top of it. So weight saving at its finest, we've saved about 10 grams. Aerial wiring, who needs an aerial when you can listen to chatter? So we've deleted the aerial, put a bung in the roof. This is just a bit of the wiring we've got out of there. No need for any more aerials, boot locks. It's all going to be done manually. But so if you haven't seen in the video previous about the fabrication of these foot plates, go and check the video out. But just putting some seam sealer around the seals, just coated them in a zinc primer just to stop the corrosion. I'm just going to put some diamond white paint over the top of them. If you look at the inner seals, we've drilled some holes and cable tied the loom to the seal just to tidy it up, and we're just removing more weight and more wiring out the rear boot just to make it look a bit smarter. So just painted up these foot plates, got some diamond white on them, just giving some protection because didn't want no water getting on them, getting them rusty after all that work. As you see, tidied up the wiring, just going over everything with a multimeter at the minute because we've got a power drain somewhere. So just trying to tidy up all this wiring, getting all the ignition out, moving this AEM gauge before we put the roll cage in. So that's the job we're up to. We're going to get this glove box in and cut it down so we can get the roll cage in front of it and still open up the glove box. So making the centre console out, obviously involving a volt gauge, a new cigarette lighter and a USB port. This one's going to be for the fan switch, so we're just cutting out the centre gauge. We're going to get put the boost gauges and the AFR gauge in this one, so it faces upwards, and then this one's going to go in like so. You'll see it in the car, it'll look a lot smarter. Right, so we're just weighing the cage just to see how much it weighs. So the rear section, if anyone wants to know, is 15 kilos. We're going to weigh the rest of it. And then we had to take that weight off when we weighed the car just to know how much the car actually weighs without a cage in it. Right, so the front parts, the front legs, they're both 4.75 each, so obviously double that. So nearly, what's that, 9.4 kilos? Yeah, so 9.5 kilos. So we're just going to weigh the rest of the bars, the door bars, quickly. So these are the door bars, 1.7 kilos, obviously allowing for the brackets, probably like 1.8, 1.9 kilos each. So this one's the roof bar, 2.28 kilos. This is when the old fishing scales come in handy. This is 2.2 kilos, so that's 33 kilos. So that's not too bad for a cage, save your life. So loads of hardware, just went out and got the correct size bolts and tensile strength we need. So didn't want to use them manky ones that they come with the car. They was only too short anyway. So 8.8 tensile is the lowest that you can use on these cars. You can go all the way up to 12.9. Some nice fixed washers for going underneath the floor pan as well. And obviously locking nuts as well so that we have no problems with the bolts coming undone. So you can see we're getting this rear part of the cage in. So we've put a backing plate on the back of the arch. Let's see if you can see it. I'll get focused. There it is. So we've got, that's a 3mm backing plate. Obviously the locking nuts, you can see the thread comes all the way through to the locker. So there's plenty of strength now on the turret. So these are the thick plates that we're using, just galvanised the back of them to stop any sort of corrosion. But the other side's under sealed as well. So we're going to use thick washers, 3mm plate, well overdoing it. So at the minute we're just in the process of wiring in all the gauges. You can see how messy it is at the minute. It's going to be tidy. So we've got this one in already. We're just making up a gauge pod for that. Obviously this is just a part so we can get to all the permanent lives, ignition lives from the radio. So just extending the fan wiring now, put some shrink tubing on it. This is going to be a lot tidier in a couple of hours. So we're getting somewhere. So we've just made up new surround for the AEM gauge and the boost gauge. So we just wired them in. Obviously retrofitted USBs. So when this car come out, no one even knew what a USB was. That's just holding in the fan switch at the minute that's being glued in. This is the voltage gauge and obviously a 12-volt feed. So yeah, turn them on. So as you can see here, all working fully, all looking good. So that's that part of it done. Found loads of little bodges and that behind the dash that we're sorting out at the minute. So fan switch is in. We've done it on a permanent live, so we can come down from Santa Pod or racetrack and just cool the car down. You can hear it lights up as well, so you know it's on. Obviously without even other gauges being on, you can hear it on outside the car. Nice powerful fan. So a job we've wanted to do for a while now is get this car watertight. Basically these plastic windows that were in it, they're great for track obviously, we're going to have them on another set of doors. Problem is, they let in water. We've changed back to the tinted green glass, which makes it look a lot cleaner. Obviously, it doesn't look as track anymore, but it still looks really clean and it won't let in water. You can see we took out the plastics. These are going to go into another set of doors. Or if someone can help us out there and has a set of wind-up windows without the motor, because we need to get rid of this motor. You can see the problem. The motor on these cars, they stick out the door. Obviously, we're going to run door bars along here, and the problem is that you can see through the window. Let's have a look. Yeah, you can see the door. So the door bar and that they will clear, but it will tap on the door bar, which is not what we want. So if there's anyone out there that's got a set of wind-up windows for a Mark III or a Mark IV Escort, please get in touch and we'll buy them off you if you're selling them. And you can see the problem. For some reason, Ford designed it where the motor's sat outside the door, even though there's loads and loads of clearance inside the door. So as you can see on these plastic windows, what happens is the water runs down the door card and then channels up in this channel, this polycarbonate. And then it runs down into the car and it's been pooling up in the floor pan, which we just can't have after doing all them repairs. I mean, this car is going to be garaged, but it's going to be outside as well, and you don't want in the rain, you don't want water piling into the car. And also these obviously flap about on the road, you can hear how noisy they are. And I mean, they're great, they're obviously lightweight, they're brilliant, and they're going to go back in, but we just need to sort out a different alternative for them. Another one is, has anyone got a set of opening rear quarters? Obviously these are green tinted, so they need to be from a Series 2. The Series 1s are brown tinted. So if you have a set of rear quarters that are green tinted, that are opening, obviously you've got the opening brackets and everything with them, let me know. So it's time to address the seat bracket situation. So obviously we had a welded in rail across here. This weren't done by me. You can see it's straight to the steel where you've got to put spreader plates in, otherwise it's going to rip through that floor pan. So just got to cut out this last section here, put in a spreader plate, and then put a spreader plate on this seal, get the seat lined up where we want it, and then we can bolt it in. So let's get to cutting that out now. So I just made up a spreader plate because obviously the floor pan's not strong enough to hold the seat rail on its own. Made some 2mm plate up, that's going to sit in there, that's what the rail's going to bolt to. Just got this galvanised sheet, so just got to get the protective coating off it so I can weld it. So I've just finished welding in the spreader plates along the exhaust tunnel as well, so that we've got extra strength up here. It's already spot welded with plates up here anyway, so it's got loads of strength. Just tacked it all in, bent it, shaped it. Also put one along the seal as well, even though this seal already has 3mm plate in it. I just wanted to strengthen it up anyway. I was going to weld it straight to it, but I thought no, I just put a spreader plate on it anyway, just to be sure. So what we're doing with this car at the minute is basically just going to be, the seats are going to be 100% safe, but they're going to be in temporary, because this cross member here that goes across to that side is going to be taken out. To weld in these rails properly, they need to be lower, so this rail would need to be along here. At the minute I'm having to bring it up higher, which means I'm using cold drawn steel, but I'm using a box section rather than a tube. So after taking loads of measurements, messing around with the rails, seat rails in, seat out, I've eventually got to a position that I'm very happy with, seating position. It clears, well, it don't look like it, but it clears the door, clears all the cage. Got room now in the cage, so it doesn't touch the cage at all, and the seating position is absolutely perfect. So just a slight bend when you've got the clutch fully depressed. So obviously I only got a bit of wood behind there at the minute, but you can see here, absolutely spot on. So you want your wrist to be sitting on the top of the steering wheel, and obviously you want to be able to see over the bonnet. That's essential. I'm going to take this off in next day or so and spray that up, because you can see the paint's obviously peeling off it. Give that a bit of a clean. We've obviously got the horn as well that goes here, the proper RS horn, which is quite rare now, and it actually works. It's not just a blank one. So get that wired in. See how nice the dash is looking now. Obviously made up the centre pod. Got the fan on a permanent as well. Battery's not in at the minute, so I can't show you that. All the dashes back in, glove box is all trimmed, so obviously we're going to put a bit of trim around that corner there, just so it ain't got no sharp edges, and it clears, all locks, clears the cage. You can see just that corner there. ECU is going to sit in there, and it all locks up fine. So we're getting there now. So the rear seat rail is all welded in, all attached to the spreader plates that go over the exhaust tunnel. At the minute, obviously, I've welded it to this spreader plate. It's all tacked in at the minute, so if I needed any adjustment, I could move it about. I've got the side mounts, they're all bolted down now. They've got tubes that are going through this box section, so it doesn't crush down, not let it will, because it's 2mm CDS cold drawn steel. So it's got no seams in it, very, very strong. Obviously, I said to you, I'm going to be removing this cross member out of there at some point. I really want to get that out, but we can't do that at the minute because we've got to put the passenger seat in, and that's the only reason that I'm doing the rails this way. Normally, I'd use tubular cold drawn steel, obviously 2mm thickness to MSA specs. But we're just getting the seat safely mounted in at the minute, so we can attach the harnesses and get everything moving, because we've got to wait for the bucket seat to come on that side. And instead of slowing us down for a month, we're just going to get this seat in, get all the seat and interior complete, and then we can get the rails in at a later date. So I'm going to pull this steering wheel off now, because I can't stand looking at that flaky, rusty paint, and get some nice fresh paint on it. I'm going to get some dye for this in the future, because the leather is really good on it. It's just the dye's faded over the years, because it's an old steering wheel. So I just went over the steering wheel with a DA sander, you just see. I used a 120 grit and a 240 grit. Obviously, where the powder coat's good, you don't need to take that off. You just need to smooth it down, because obviously that'll allow a nice key, as long as it's got no rust or any sort of corrosion on it. So yeah, just taped it up, put it in some protective bag around the leather so it doesn't get any paint on it. And going to give it a quick etch prime up and just some industrial satin black. So the steering wheel's in primer now. I've put a dusting coat of etch primer on just for adhesion, and then a couple of coats of iBuild primer over the top of that. You see how nice it looks, like no marks, no dents in it. So I'm going to let that dry for a couple of hours. Good thing with this primer, it's really fast drying primer. Then I'm going to get some industrial satin over the top of that. I'm not going to lacquer it, there's no need, because it's inside. Don't really get much exposure to the outdoors. I'm also going to leave it to dry for a couple of days, because obviously we've got to put these centre bolts in, and I don't want it scraping off with the paint, so I want it to be rock hard. So that's the finished product. Looks really good in the fresh satin black paint. For a lot of people that don't know, this is actually a Ford Motorsport steering wheel, and it's not an aftermarket steering wheel. It's called an RS4 spoke, and Ford actually made it themselves. So yeah, that's why we're keeping it on the car. It's like an option, and I think it looks great. So before I put the rest of the seats in, I thought I'd give you a quick look around the interior. Obviously now the cage is fully bolted in. We've got the steering wheel all nicely painted up, so no crusty paint anymore. Obviously got the horn push to go on that. That's fully working. I'm just going to put the other side rail in now so I can get that seat in. Then I'll get the harnesses attached. So obviously that's the cage from the rear, just before we put the seat in. Another thing that we've done that I forgot to tell you about is we fitted an extension to the gear stick. We've also fitted a Puma gear linkage. Now obviously the Escort ones get really loose over time, so the Puma one's nice and tight now, goes into gear nice and direct, and obviously that gear extension brings it up higher, so when you're in the bucket seat you don't have to lean over to get to it. Right, driver's side seats in. So obviously going to get the passenger side seat in now, get the harnesses in. You can see what we're going to do with the back. Obviously this is the cage. So you can see how the cage sits, lovely, all bolted in now. So we're going to carpet the back out as well, just to make it look tidier, so it don't look like really tatty. You can see the driver's side a bit better. And then we get this horn push on. So we've got the RS horn push. Now we're going to connect that up and get that on. So that's the RS horn pushing with the nicely painted steering wheel. Doesn't work in a minute because the battery's not on. But we've got some nice fresh Lockwood dials up there for a bit of 80s, 90s feel. And a carbon surround as well, just to finish it off. And the gauges are looking great from the driver's position. It's just feeling really nice. We've got obviously the Puma gear selector, Puma gear knob as well. You can see how tight it is for an RS Turbo, and it comes right up to where your arm's going to rest on the seat. That's lovely. So we're going to get some alloy pedals as well. We've just got to fit on this steering cowling, and you can see the RS boss that we've got as well. So the ECU sits in the glove box when we're out in the car. See how nice and tidy that sits. That comes through there. Now it clears the roll cage, which is good. We're just going to put a bit of trim around that. So the passenger side seats in the legendary Recaro. Looks a bit out of place now with obviously the Trax inspired interior. It looks a bit too stock, but it's definitely still one of the most comfortable seats you're ever going to sit in. Oh, you see how nice they are. I just want to show you these gauges all lit up. See how good they look. So obviously we've got the 12 volt there. We've got the USB for charging your phones and etc. Obviously AFR and boost, and then you can hear there that the fan comes on a permanent, and then that's just on ignition like that. So give you a quick look around. So finally we are ready to get this car MOT'd. So obviously I'm going to trim up this carpet. That's going to be in the back. The whole interior is going to be painted bright diamond white, so it's going to look great, but that ain't going to be done instantly because it's going to take a lot of work. Going to get the 90 spec bumpers on, 90 spec spoiler on. You can see I've put the harnesses in there, so we've got the 3-inch OMP harnesses in. So let's give you a quick look around the car. I'm sorry about the lighting conditions. Obviously it gets dark about 4 PM now, so it's not ideal, especially in the winter. But at least it's not frosty tonight. You can see how good she's looking now. It's hard to get it on video, but it looks really, really, really aggressive. You can see the paintwork needs a big clean up. So we've got a DA polisher they've just picked up for it, and some compound and polishing pads, so they're all going to be done. The wheels do need a refurb because they're very tatty, but look at the cockpit position now. It looks brilliant, proper track inspired. All that work has come to fruition. The steering wheel looks nice and fresh again. Obviously you just need to dye that bit of leather. That's the driver's side position, so you've got it all there. Everything's there where you need it. I've moved this seat over about 15 mil from when you last see it. Let's give you a look from the rear. You can see the cage right through the back window. So this back window is going to go to polycarbonate. At the minute it's glass obviously, and it's heated and it weighs an absolute ton. So we took this boot struts off last week and lifted their boot, and it was absolutely ridiculously heavy, even though we stripped out all the motors, all the wiring. So obviously this carpet is going to be trimmed up, and we're going to put a panel in the back there. This is all going to be painted fresh diamond white. It was painted at some point, but obviously we took off the sand deadening, and we need some pop out windows because in the summer this is going to get really hot inside. So now we're ready for an MOT. So finally all this work has paid off, and you'll get some videos of it moving outside of its compound that it's been in. Going to get the 90 spec bumper on. That's going to be painted. That'll be in probably the next episode. Obviously the 90 spec rear spoiler as well. So I've just got to show you another quick parts that we've got to fit to it. It's the turbocharger housing that come today. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and smash the subscribe and like button. So today we got the new exhaust housing for the car. It's a .48 housing, but what makes this special is it's a 5-bolt. Now 5-bolt exhaust housing is exactly the same as what the Escort RS Turbo come with, but they come with a .36. That's no good for power, great for spool, but it really limits your top end. So we've got AR .48 with no cracks in it. They crack around this penny valve, and so we're going to fit this T34 off a large turbo Escort Cosworth. But what we're going to do is we're going to remove this, which is a .48, but it's a Cosworth housing, and we don't have to make up the downpipe now. We can use the original elbow off the Escort RS Turbo. So you can see this has only been run up on the dyno, so this turbo has done no miles at all. It has got exhaust gas temperature threaded in the back of it, but it's these are both original Garrett items. So this turbo will be going on probably in the next episode. We're just getting a brand new compressor housing for it so that we've got no damage, because they always pick up bits of damage inside. So yeah, you're looking forward to that in the next episode. Getting some more boost into the car, we can get a map. So as soon as we've done an MOT, we're going to go for more power. So we can't finish the video off without starting it up, can we? All that hard work. The RS Turbo Burble. So we've got the usual old school. You can see how nice they light up. There you go. No throttle needed to get that started, which is very unusual. So we're very, very happy with how this is coming out now. So you should be able to see this at the shows next year and see it at some track days. So if you do get some pictures, and tag me on them in Instagram. So this will end this episode now. So thanks for watching this one. Plenty more to come. So if you're new to the channel, stay around. We've got loads and loads of cars. I've got a little surprise because a lot of you haven't seen my other RS Turbo. So I'm going to show you that in a future episode. So we couldn't end this episode out, could we, without giving it a start up with all that engine work we've done. And now that the body is rust free and it's solid with a roll cage bolted to it, loads of strength in there. So let's give it a quick start up. See how nice it starts up, no throttle needed. There you go. Got the EFI clocks in there so that we can use the Cosworth coil pack conversion. Going to turn it to cold start quickly. How she idles from cold. Starts really well, unlike most Cosworth managed RS turbos or Cosworths altogether, because they just do not like starting from cold. So if you just joined the channel, give us a subscribe. I really appreciate it. There's going to be loads more videos to come. We're doing loads of track work in the summer and the spring.